Okay, if you've ever had to write a big academic paper, you know the struggle. You get feedback from all over the place, track changes, weird emails, hallway conversations. It's a total mess. So today, we're going to look at a tool that's trying to bring some order to that chaos. You know how it goes, right? You wait like weeks for your supervisor's notes, and when you finally get them, the comments are cryptic, to say the least. You've poured all this time into a draft, and you're still not even sure if your main argument is landing. Does that sound a little too familiar? So the old way is just slow and messy, and now you've got all these AI tools popping up promising to give you instant feedback. But honestly, that just kind of throws another wrench into the works, adding a whole new layer of confusion. Which really brings us to the big question here. Are these AI tools just fancy ghostwriters? You know, a shortcut that lets you skip the actual learning part? Or can they actually be used to teach us, to make us better writers in the long run? And this is where a tool called Thesify comes into the picture. It positions itself very differently. It's not a writer, it's an AI-powered academic writing coach. Its whole reason for being is to give you feedback that helps you improve what you've written, not to just write it for you. An independent review from a site called Review Nexa puts it perfectly. They said, while other tools will write for you, Thesify teaches you to write better. Just let that sink in for a minute. The goal isn't just finishing the paper. It's about you walking away with better skills than you had when you started. This really breaks down the two different paths AI can take with writing. On one side, you've got the ghostwriter AI. It just gives you the finished product. But on the other side, you have the AI writing coach, which is Thesify's whole approach. It analyzes your work. The biggest difference? With a coach, the work is still 100% yours, and so are the skills you develop along the way. So how in the world does an AI actually coach you? Well, it all revolves around one main thing, a super detailed feedback report. Let's take a look at what's actually inside one of these. So the process itself is pretty simple. You just upload your draft, tell it a few things like, is this an essay or a thesis? What's your field of study? And then, in about 90 seconds, bam, you've got a full analysis right there in your dashboard, ready to export as a nice, clean PDF report. All right, now for the fun part. What's actually in this report? The very first thing you see is a high-level feedback summary. Think of it like an executive summary for your own paper, giving you the big picture right up front. This summary gives you that instant snapshot. It tells you what you're already doing well, which is awesome for morale, but also gets straight to the point about what needs work. And then it gives you an overall take on how ready the paper is for submission. No fluff, just direct and clear. But a summary is really just the beginning. Right after that, the report gets down to business and turns that big picture overview into a concrete list of next steps for you to follow. This is where the feedback becomes super actionable. Instead of some vague suggestion, you get a numbered list of things to do. And what's really cool is that they're often tagged with priority levels, like high impact. That way, you know exactly where to put your energy to get the biggest bang for your buck. It basically hands you a revision checklist. Okay, so if the summary and the action list are the tip of the iceberg, this next part is everything that's hiding below the surface. This is where the report does a deep dive into the core academic guts of your paper, using detailed rubrics. And this, right here, is really the heart of the whole thing. It breaks your paper down into its fundamental parts. For your thesis statement, it's asking, is it clear? Is it actually debatable? Is it supported later on? It looks at your structure, how you use evidence, all of it. It basically trains you to look at your own writing with the critical eye of a reviewer. So, having a great philosophy is one thing. But does any of this actually hold up in the real world? To figure that out, we're going to dig into the results of an independent 30-day test that was done by Review Nexa. You know, the first thing that Review points out is the price. We're talking less than €3 a month. The reviewer literally called it shockingly affordable and said the return on investment was, and I quote, absurd. That's a pretty bold statement. So how does that price and its features really stack up? Well, if you look at tools like Grammarly or PaperPal, they're fantastic for fixing grammar and polishing your language. But Thesify is playing a totally different game. Its main focus is on the skeleton of your paper, the structure and the argument. It's built to teach, not just to correct, and it does it for a tiny fraction of the cost. So what did this 30-day test actually uncover? The reviewer really put Thesify through its paces, throwing 15 different academic documents at it, from essays all the way up to PhD chapters. Here's what they found: the good and the bad.
On the plus side, the reviewer just loved its teach, don't tell approach. The speed was another massive win. Getting that feedback in 90 seconds means you can revise things incredibly fast. They also pointed to its ethical design, the fact that it refuses to write for you, the deep analysis, and a huge 100,000-word limit per document. But of course, no tool is perfect, right? The review pointed out that it's really best for English language writing right now. It also doesn't check for things like citation formatting or plagiarism. And sometimes it might miss some really, really niche rules for very specific academic fields.
So when you put all of that together, who is a tool like this actually for? Who's going to get the most out of an AI writing coach? The main audience, pretty clearly, is graduate students and early career researchers who are deep in the trenches with theses and journal articles. But it's also a huge help for academic writers who speak English as a second language, because they can get that big picture structural feedback that a simple grammar checker is never going to give them. So here's the real takeaway on how to use it. The Thesify isn't trying to be the only tool you ever use. The best workflow seems to be using it first, to get your core argument and your structure rock solid. Once that's locked in, then you bring in your other tools, like Grammarly for that final language polish and something like Zotero to handle all your citations. And that really brings us all the way back to that big question we started with. Tools like Thesify seem to be pointing towards a future where AI isn't just a shortcut. I mean, if AI can actually become a personalized, accessible coach, what could that mean for the future of how we learn everything, not just how we write?